the Quran in several different places says that God is one. In the Quran, chapter 112, 1 to 4, Quran chapter 29, verse 46, etc., etc. So basically, the Quran's theology is that God is one. So the argument being put forth by what you may call it, the evangelical Christians, etc., is that I remember I was watching a debate between Shabir Ali and Nabil Qureshi, and Nabil Qureshi, who passed away a few years ago, was saying that the Hebrew word Echad could mean a compound plurality, or um, it could be it could be like a collective noun, like a cluster or herd, where a plurality is implied in the Hebrew word akad. So they argue that could be grounds to warrant belief in a trinity. In a trinity. Now, now before I even get into that, like let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4, where that verse says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." And I'm quoting from the New International Version translation. So basically, notice what Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 says. It says, "The Lord our God, the Lord is one." So what does that sound like? It sounds like Old Testament theology is teaching that there's one singular God. So so then we got to look at the Hebrew word akad. So the Hebrew word akad in Hebrew simply means one person, one being, one thing, etc. And how do we know this? We know this by looking at other books in the Bible which use that same word, that use that same Hebrew word to mean one being or one thing or one place. For example, we read in Isaiah chapter 51 verse 2, it describes Abraham as one. The Hebrew word akkad is used, and there is no possible misunderstanding about the meaning of this simple word. When it's talking about Abraham as one, the Hebrew word akad, it means Abraham was one singular person, not like not like a split personality, or not like three persons in one, just one physical being. So the Hebrew word is akad, simply means one person, one being, one thing. We further read in Genesis chapter 1 verse 5. It says God made light on the first day. First meaning one, not 3 days in one day. No, one specific day. It further says in Genesis chapter 11 verse 1, the whole earth spoke one language before Babel. One, meaning one language, not multiple languages, but just one singular language. Uh, when Hagar cast her child under one of the bushes, the Hebrew word is akad in Genesis chapter 21, verse 15. Again, the Hebrew word implies one thing. In Exodus chapter 9, verse 6, it says, "In the plague on Egypt's livestock, not one cow in Israel died." One, meaning one singular thing. Exodus chapter 12, verse 49 says that Israel shall have one law for the citizen and the foreigner. One. That means one thing. The examples, and again, the Hebrew word akad was used in all those verses, are all those biblical verses I just read. The examples are too far to list. The Hebrew word akad is used more than 250 times in the Old Testament, and there is no hint in any Jewish commentary or lexicon that it somehow implies a compound unity. So basically, in all of Palestine, before Jesus, there probably could not have been found a single man or woman who supposed that there was any distinction of persons, such as now taught in the unity of God. So basically, the Jews before before the writings of the New Testament, the Jews always understood Echad as one, just one person or one being or one thing. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 is one of the strongest texts against the Trinity. So God is one being. The Hebrew word Echad meaning one, as shown not only from Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4, but in other places like Genesis chapter 1 verse 5, Genesis chapter 11 verse 1, Genesis chapter 21 verse 15, Exodus chapter 9 verse 6, etc., etc., meaning he's one person using that Hebrew word Echad. Uh, you know, so uh, again, if we read and Jesus seems to confirm the Jewish belief in one God, because we read in the Gospel of Mark chapter 12 verse 29 and 30, where uh, Jesus basically quotes Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4, where Jesus says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength." The Gospel of Mark chapter 12 verse 29 and 30. So basically, Jesus in the Gospel of Mark is quoting Deuteronomy, and he's saying that God is one. And when he was saying God is one, he's talking about the Old Testament God, because whoever wrote the Gospel of Mark wasn't they were reading the Old Testament, right? And they were or they were basing their theology off the Old Testament. So in that Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4, God is one, to a Jewish audience who would be sure to understand what that meant. One being, not three in one, but one singular being. It is much more reasonable to believe that Jesus was simply affirming that if we are to love God with all our heart, we must be certain who He is, the one singular God of Israel. So I would just suggest reading Anthony Buzzard. Anthony Buzzard is a biblical Unitarian where he believes that God is one, not only throughout the Old Testament, but throughout the New Testament as well. So I would just recommend reading Anthony Buzzard's books. I'll post an Amazon link below. So that's all I want to say about um, God being one, not only according to the Old Testament theology, but according to the New Testament books as well. Stay tuned. More videos are up ahead.